Hey everyone, welcome to the show, episode 44, AFL injury update. With the cricket season finishing now, complete domination by the Aussies in the test series, we now move into footy season, the best season of all. The great game, and also we're moving into a new year, and also a lot of pre-season work done by the boys. So we're going to talk about who's currently injured, and who has the potential to miss round one. So let's get into it. So we're going to talk in alphabetical order. We're going to talk about the Crows first because that's Adelaide. They start with A, so let's get into it. So Isaac Rankin obviously misses with suspension. It carries over from last year. Not an injury, but that's a player who will miss round one. Sid Draper, who's hurt his groin in the off-season. I have seen he's been running. He's back into it. I think he ramps up his training. I don't think that will impact too much. He should hopefully play in the preseason. And also Darcy Fogarty has had toe issues. Riley O'Brien with an elbow, but hasn't heavily impacted their preseason. So there's still light sort of injuries. And still training and still able to sort of do a fair bit. Obviously with an elbow for Riley O'Brien, I guess that wouldn't impact his running as much, but just contact work. A bit of the opposite for Darcy Fogarty with a toe. It's a bit harder to run, but still manageable. And that's what it's indicated that they should be okay for pre-season and round one. But there is a new injury for those who don't know. Ben Keays has pulled a hamstring. He's had scans, I believe, late yesterday, or probably, I think he did it yesterday. And he's obviously going in for scans. He'll find out the extent of the damage over the next up and coming days. So potentially, 4 to 6 weeks. We're a bit over a month away from preseason games. So it could quite impact the start of the year for Ben Keays. Had a great year last year. Was one of the best forward line players for the Crows. And he's a very hard-working half forward or forward pocket. Generally a bit more half forward because he runs in waves, and he's a bit of the pace starter for the Crows. When he's up and about, generally he brings along most of the forward line with him. So bit of an injury cloud surrounding him. Luckily enough, it's happened early in the preseason or midway through the preseason, so he still has time to eventually come back into the lineup at the start of the season. It may just be after round one. I'm not too sure. He may make it for round one, depending on how severe it is. So that's the Crows. So not too many injuries from the Crows' perspective. A couple, but not the numbers of between 5 to 10. I think close to 5 though. But yeah, young guy like Sid Draper is one that you want to hopefully he can get through his injuries. So we'll move on to the next football club. So that's the Brisbane Lions, the premiership team. So going into the new year, Eric Hipwood with his knee. He did his ACL late last year, so he's going to be one that will miss the start of the year. Still progressing with his injuries. Did it late, so he's not going to come back to later in the season. Sam Draper with his Achilles. So Sam Draper moving over from Essendon as a free agent. His Achilles, he snapped his Achilles. Big guy. I don't think they're going to want to rush him too quick. It's a 12-month injury. You can push it in 10 months, but an injury like that, I think they'd be more cautious to lean on, the side of caution. And yeah, he will be back arguably probably after round 4, round 5. I think he did it round 4 last year. He could come back a bit earlier. We'll see how it goes. See if they go on the more conservative, cautious side, or they'll just roll the dice and run with it. Also, Jack Payne, he did his knee as well with an ACL. but they're mentioning that he's in line to do preseason games. I think he did his very early in the year last year. And also Noah Ainsworth had his Achilles. So he's also a mid-year setback or close to, along with Eric Hipwood, who has done his ACL and will miss a fair chunk of the season. So that doesn't quite matter, I suppose, so much. But also Oscar Allen has had calf and Achilles soreness during the preseason. So he's come over from West Coast. Had a pretty injury-riddled career so far. Sort of seems to get going and then gets an injury. So hopefully he can get through that and play consistent football in the forward line for the Brisbane Lions. And they need him, obviously, with Eric Hipwood going out. They're going to need him to play that role. So Carlton, Harry O'Farrell. So his knee. So he'll for the most of 2026, he'll miss with an ACL rupture, which happened in August. So still a fair bit of time for the recovery there. And also they have Brody Kemp, who did his Achilles in the gather rounds, so that's close to more April to his return, if not a little bit longer, if he's had a few setbacks with that. So a few Achilles injuries, as I've already mentioned. So there's been a trend of that being an upwards trend, which is not good, but Achilles are a very interesting one. Generally, if the players are under 27 years old, they'll recover a bit faster from it. But if you're over 27, as a rule, a rough sort of rule, if you're about above 27, they have quite a few setbacks with Achilles injuries, and you start to obviously lose the recovering sort of point. As you've seen, you've seen me wear my Kobe Bryant t-shirt from his Mamba series. He's did his Achilles as he was older. He struggled to get back to that form that he had. Obviously a different sport, but it's quite an athletic sport where you're going to be using all the parts of your legs, and Achilles cop a fair bit because you're jumping and moving at a high speed. So also Jagger Smith, who's coming back from his knee reconstruction, or the ACL. And he did it in the preseason for what I remember. So he should be back for round one, definitely. Probably should play in the preseason, but he is a top 3 pick, so I'm going to have to be very careful with him after last year. And he's a lightly framed bloke, but having a preseason off, he's probably hit the weights a bit, so it could be beneficial long term for him. The Magpies also seem to be a pretty healthy sort of list. Obviously had Bo McQuarrie in the off season, had foot surgery, but shouldn't put a line through his season opening chances. That's one of the notes I have down. Bobby Hill has taken off personal leave and has had hamstring issues over the preseason. So shout out to you, Bobby, mate. We want to see you get healthy, mate, and get back onto the Pies list, because he's exciting Indigenous players in the forward line for the Collingwood Magpies. And I like the way you go about football, mate. And you always got a smile. So, get back on the track, mate. Reef McInnes could be in the frame for a return after an ACL that he had in last year in March. So, we'll see him. Should be back for pre-season, if not in contention for round one, depending on how his rehabilitation has gone for his knee. And Dan Houston's hip has had procedures in the off-season to have a bit of a clean out around his hip area. I would say he's back probably into training now. Probably had a bit more of a break before Christmas, and he'll move back into full training after Christmas, which is now. And shouldn't affect him too much. He's been around football for a while now. He's 28, I think, now. So he should know what's required to get back up to scratch and fitness. So, and also Dan McStay has had shoulder injuries and shoulder problems, but also it has affected his workload throughout the preseason, and we'll rely a fair bit on getting that right. Obviously, with the size he is, with his shoulder, he's going to be a bit of a crash and bash forward line player. As I mentioned, the Magpies do need a key forward. He is very paramount to them staying and going above into the finals for this season if they can make it. That rounds out Collingwood. I'm going to start with Essendon. We've got Tom Edwards with the knee. Nick Martin, unfortunately, has had more issues and done more damage to his knee. So he's out for the whole season, which is sad because he's probably one of Essendon's best players. Brian, knee, ACL, which I've mentioned on previous podcasts. Lewis Hayes with the knee. So obviously they had a very injury-riddled season last year in 2025. And there's still, some issues lingering into the new season, just with these injuries carrying over. Obviously with Nick Martin being ruled out for the whole season this year. ACL injuries to both Lewis Hayes, Thomas Edwards, and Nick Bryan. And last year also sees a few injuries around the place over the preseason, but most of them are back. Just reading that, Sylvan Roby has had back issues, but he's had, a modified program after they found the stress fracture in his back, but it shouldn't delay the start to the year for him. But they'll be monitoring him and making sure that he's okay, being his first season. That covers them pretty good. I think most of all their main players have come back. And Darcy Parish, I believe, has been training quite well after he had a very injury-ridden season next year. So the Bombers should get a few of their players back and be up and running a bit more better. So hopefully they go well through the injuries that they've had last year. No one likes to see that. So Fremantle, we're going to talk about Freo now. Sam Stewart with the knee. So the utility is set to miss extended time. So he went under the knife and had a knee reconstruction late in the season last year. And it was revealed that his ACL was not stable after surgery, so he may miss the potential bit of time just going through another process of the surgery. Corey Wagner underwent surgery. He ruptured his patella, or the pectoral muscle, sorry. Not the patella, that's different muscle and altogether, but the pectoral muscle. But yeah, he did that late last year, as I could remember. I remember how he did it. I'm just remembering going off holding. I don't know, it was within a contest. He did it. But yeah, so that was late into the season last year. But he isn't being... He should make round one. It's not believed that he's going to miss round one. Geelong at Harley Barker. He did an ACL. So their first round draft pick, the wingman from the South Australian undefeated side, who suffered an ACL injury in July, which unfortunately missed his... He played most of the state games, but missed his premiership winning Sturt team. And he'll probably miss a fair chunk of this year. They're not going to rush him back. They've got plenty of older players that fill that role at the moment. He probably struggled to... I mean, if he gets in form, he would be playing. But Geelong have time to look after the bloke, get him back to form, get strength in his knee. He's going to be an absolute star, that bloke. Let me tell you, he's the next Max Holmes, along to give that midfield some pace that they need. Toby Conway, so he's got back and foot issues the following year. Following on from last year, heavily impacted injuries throughout last year. So yeah, his back and foot, quite serious problems. Sorry, for a tall young fella. So you want to see his foot get right, and obviously your back's quite a serious part of your body. And they need a ruckman. That's one thing Geelong were looking for in the off season. They didn't get one. They were looking through to get one, but it just didn't work out. They couldn't make a trade. So they really need one. Reece Stanley's getting older. There's no doubt that he could be injury prone coming into this year. And they need one. Jeremy Cameron obviously broke his arm during the grand final of last year. But should be right and ready to go for the opening round against the Gold Coast Suns. Yeah, so he went straight in for surgery in the off season. So I don't really see him not missing out. So there you go. Shout out to you, Jezza Cameron. And that rounds off Geelong. So Geelong going into this year pretty fit. Seen photos the other day. They were looking pretty good. And a couple of videos of their training. So watch out for Geelong. Quite a hard draw this year though, compared to last year's back end of the draw. So they're going to need to be fit and firing. So let's move on to the Gold Coast Suns. Elliot Himmelberg. So the Suns obviously suffered a couple ACL injuries last year. Himmelberg being one of them, which happened in May. So he's the ex-Crow who's moved over to Gold Coast. And they're pushing more likely that he'll be in the middle of the year. So May sort of, yeah, I mean, mid-year is a little bit later than May. Mid-year is closer to June. So they're not going to rush him by the sounds of it. And also star defender Charlie Ballard. So his season was over in round 1 last year. So yeah, he should probably maybe play some preseason. It indicates to me that he should at least be back for round 1 when they host Geelong. And probably much needed. Help out the tall defenders down there. They've got plenty of halfbacks in that lineup. So there you go, mate. Hopefully you get back in. I believe he's a fellow South Australian from what I understand. So shout out there, say lad. So we'll move on to GWS. So Josh Kelly, hip. He's had hip issues. Darcy Jones, who did his knee in the finals last year. And Nathan Warduris, his knee. So they're likely to miss the start of 2026. Josh Kelly's had surgery on his hip, and the procedure is likely to have an impact on the start of his season. He's a bit older now too, so they're going to have to get that hip right. And obviously Darcy Jones' injury in September last year is going to push he's going to miss a fair chunk of this year. Potentially not coming back to August, so he's going to... And they rely so much on that bloke's speed and agile work and working that hard tsunami-type wave, moving back into their forward line, how aggressively they run back into their forward line from the wave coming across, the slingshot across the ground. So he's going to be one that they miss. So Nathan Honduras is also recovering from an ACL injury in August, so he's going to miss a fair bit of time. So a couple injuries for GWS, but not overall, still mostly fit. We're into the Hawks, the Hawthorn Football Club. Obviously, Will Day with his stress fracture in his foot. He's been doing a lot of running by himself. He hasn't done much contact work, but he has been doing a lot of running. He sort of knows what it takes to keep his fitness up. I mean, sometimes you want to do a bit of contact work because you just need to, you as a footballer need to have a bit of contact to just, get the body right a bit. A bit of jarring with the body just works out good because you just condition it a bit like that sometimes. But also with his injury, he's not had the ability to do that, and they've been a bit more cautious and conservative with their approach. So they've got him running laps. He should come back in the full training next month. Probably halfway through this month, they'll integrate him into some sort of contact training, which is important. You don't want him running straight into the season without much contact work. Like I said, you really do need to do a bit. There's still a bit of conditioning. Like, you can obviously run straight back and not have any contact, but your body does need a bit of impact work to work through the bumps, the tackles. Just get used to it. You use muscles that you don't normally use in every sort of thing that you do in life. And some of that's impact stuff. So, also, James Sicily, the skipper, has had interrupted pre-season after having more surgery on his shoulder, so more follow-up surgery. But he should be okay for the start of the season. I mean, he's one that he probably doesn't really need to do a pre-season too much. If he keeps fit himself, you want to add hours in and running in, but he's a veteran. He knows what it takes, and he won't play himself till he's right. And he's been battling a few. He's played with a few shoulder injuries. He's pretty tough. I have to give him that. He's played throughout the season. The last sort of 2 years of on and off shoulder issues. I think it's a smart idea to move him in, get the surgery done, get that right. Hopefully, there's no follow-up stuff that goes along with it, and his shoulder's all good, and he'll be good as beans. Finn McGuinness, with the kidney injury that he had quite a severe kidney injury. I think a lacerated kidney, from what I understand. I think that's how it works. So he's been in non-contact training. And he's still been given some time, so he's probably been running laps with Will. And it's a very delicate injury, as I mentioned, a lacerated kidney. But they haven't ruled him out of the first round of the season, which is opening round. I'm not a big fan of the word opening round. It should just be round one. We should have all the teams. We've had 6 months of waiting for football. I've had to watch cricket, folks. I don't mind the cricket. Okay, I don't want to rip into cricket too much. But there are people itching for football. Scrap this opening round. That's a podcast for another day. But please, no one's a fan of it. Just play all the full games. We can figure out the buys after that. So just my little 2 cents on that one. Melbourne. So we're going to move on to the Melbourne Football Club now. That covers Hawthorn quite well. Jake Bowie with his foot. So he's going to miss the couple months into the 2006 campaign with this frantic foot injury, which was discovered late into the year last year. And so he'll see a setback and he'll miss, and he'll be on the sideline to the mid-year mark. Ultimately, bit of a blow to one of their halfbacks. And they're going to need a bit of experience with a lot younger lineup under Stephen King. And Jack Viney, Jack Henderson, CJ, Thomas Matthews, Shane McAdam. I think Shane McAdam did a Achilles, from what I remember last year. Andy Monez Wakefield and Daniel Turner, amongst all those players, have had a very limited off-season, which is a fair chunk. So Jack Viney's had foot issues over the years, a few different things here or there. I'm not sure. CJ had a few injury issues, whether it was from over time with just soft tissue injuries, but nothing serious or severe. Like I mentioned, Shane McAdam had probably the most serious injuries out of all those players. But we'll see how they go. They should get at least half of them back, if not a bit later into the year, or the start of the year, sorry. I don't think they'll be far off. That covers Melbourne, quite a few. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So far Melbourne's had the larger count, but I think most of them will come back. We're on to North Melbourne now, the Roos. So the Roos, Yeah, have had a few on the sideline, but reasonably well. So Josh Goda, Jackson Archer, Colby McKersher, Hugo Makwanda, I forget how to say that name. Aiden Core, Charlie Spargo, and Braden George, and also Cam Serha. They haven't featured in much of the simulation match for their pre-season, so they went for a trip up the Gold Coast, but not many of them have featured. Some of them are older players. They probably will have a bit of an idea and understanding. Colby McKercher obviously is a younger star. Glenn Archer's son, Jackson, he hurt his leg last year from what I remember. And yeah, most of them, some young stars there. That should be alright. They'll come back. I think a lot of them will come back. Cam Zerha, obviously, and Charlie Spargo being around the place for a bit. Charlie Spargo coming over from Melbourne in the trade period. I think, yeah, he knows what it takes to make it back in the side. Cam Zerha, obviously, you know, he's essentially become a veteran for Kangaroos now, and should be back. So that covers the North Melbourne Football Club there. Port Adelaide. Ollie Lyons misses through suspension with the contact he made on Cooper Lord last year, which I don't think he even warranted a 2-game suspension. Should be playing, but yeah, 2-game suspension, not an injury. Sam Power Pepper, he has obviously done his ACL, which was about I think round 14 last year. I'm just going from bit of a guess, can't quite remember. I know it was against Brisbane away, and he has so it was in July, so it might have been a little bit later than around 14. He's going to miss a fair chunk of preseason. He is running. He is looking quite good from the videos I've seen. He is running. He hasn't done any contact work from what I understand so far yet. After coming off an ACL from the year before. So, touch wood, mate. You get back out there. It's a good football to watch. He's tough as nails. And we wish you all the best, mate. Especially me being a Port fan. That's my team. So I support. I love the club. So, and also Zach Butters, who had off-season groin surgery. The man behind my head, there he is, right there. Whoop. I hope you get well, mate. I know you had off-season groin surgery, which only impacted the start of the preseason, so he should be back now. He's been amongst the group, but he should be back into full training as we speak. Jason Horne-Francis, you're a good man. That's my painting up there, that man right there. That's a painting that I did. So Horne-Francis obviously had a break in his foot. Got a plate put in against West Coast when him and Harley Reid were going at it. Horne-Francis kicked the 3 goals and arguably the best player of the game. With a broken foot, folks. With a broken foot. What a champ. But he come back to pre-season. Started running. Would have been the first week of pre-season. And the plate was giving him soreness. So they elected to take the plate out. He should be back coming into... He has been doing walking and a little bit of running with a weighted vest. I've seen that. So he should be coming back into full pre-season. Look, I could, they probably should have took the plate out to begin with. But it's good that it's flared up sore early. And they can get it covered. And, potentially come back for round 1. I think he'll be okay. Just ease him through the preseason games. Don't play him too hard, but just get the legs running over. Get a bit of time in it and it should be okay. So that covers The Port Adelaide Football Club. Just trying to think if there's any off the top of my head that I can remember of anyone that maybe saw. I know Todd Marshall's coming back from injury with the Achilles. He did it Christmas last year, just before Christmas, just after, roughly about that time. So he'll be back for round one. And has been playing in defence at centre back. So there's a stint at the Magpies, Port Magpies, where he played in the defence before he was in the sort of middle part of the early of his career. So he's now gone back to that role. So we'll see how he goes. So on to Richmond now, the Tigers, the Tigs. So let's get into the Tigers. So Richmond youngster Judson Clark, who's sidelined via an ACL injury. So he's done that a couple times now. So that's quite sad. He did it in the VFL in July. That unfortunately means he's going to miss a fair chunk of this season. And also, with his last game in round 2 of 2024 season. So he's missed a fair bit of football. So hope you get well, mate. Thomas Sims also has had foot concerns, and he's no certainty to play for round 1. Josh Samili, his quad, he's had surgery in the off-season and is unlikely to be seen at least past February. So, pre-season's about then. I don't think they'll rush this guy back. He may not play any pre-season games, or they may just give him light minutes, give him a run through. So that covers Richmond. Reasonably clean bill of health there. And that covers them quite good. And I've seen them, they look up and about, the young Tiger players. So Layla, hopefully he is over his hamstring injuries as well. Tom Lynch has been on the ground after his injury riddled last part of his career as he's getting older. Hopefully he stays on the ground. They need that forward line player. So on to the Saints. On to the St Kilda Football Club. So Max King has had obviously knee problems, missed a large chunk of last year. Had problems in December, and it's delayed his return to the end of this month, which means he misses a fair chunk of the preseason. But his chances of being in the opening rounds, getting harder to play if he plays round 1 or not. After what he's gone through, I think they'll be on the cautious side, most definitely. Mason Wood has done a calf over the preseason. Their time frames are still ongoing. Jackson Silvani did a groin. He's also probably will miss. There's expectation that they're going to probably miss the start of the season. So you recruit, couple of injuries, groin and calf. Mason Wood does a lot of hard work up and down that wing. Silvani being probably a centre back. Help out Wilkie. So he's probably much needed. And Alex Dodson is in line to return to the lineup after having hamstring issues in mid-January. So he's had hamstring issues, but should be back training mid-January, which is next week or the week after that. So the young ruckman, he's developing. So South Australian ruckman from last year in the draft. So we'll see how he goes. So that rounds out St Kilda. Sydney veteran midfielder Taylor Adams has had a partial tear of his Achilles. So that's quite serious. Not a full tear, but partial tear. He should be back training later this month. Potentially maybe playing in the opening round, but I don't see that happening. I don't see them rushing him back. That's quite a serious injury. No, it hasn't had much luck with injury. Missed the grand final through hamstring problems. So I'd expect them to probably be very cautious on that side of injuries for him. And also, Callum Mills, the skipper, he had a hamstring injury in November. But he's in line to start the season against the Carlton Football Club. So yeah, he's unfortunately missed a fair bit of football with hamstring injuries. November's a little while ago. Yeah, he should be bridging that gap to come back. Hopefully he doesn't do one again and he can keep going. So that covers the Swans. So we're going to move on to West Coast. Liam Baker, 1 game suspension. Jack Hutchinson, ankle, and Sam Allen. So that's going to be interesting. Just reading, Jack Hutchinson will miss the start of the season. He had a stress fracture in his ankle, which they found in the over the preseason or throughout the end of the season. Sorry, and should be returning by the end of the preseason. And the new draftee Sam Allen is also set to miss the opening few months of the season, as he recovers from an ACL injury that happened or ruined his 2025 season. So yeah, they're going to take the cautious side. It's still a couple months away. It covers West Coast. So West Coast reasonably clean bill of health. Just a couple there. So we're on to the Western Bulldogs now. We've had a few pre-season injuries from one of the young midfielders, Riley Sanders, had a hamstring issue. And unfortunately, Cody Waitman, who's obviously had quite extensive injuries from his elbow to his knees. So, yeah, I believe he dislocated an elbow earlier, not last year, the year before, I think. He obviously went down with knee issues just this season gone. And, yeah, his knees swelled up. Tried making it back by the end of the year, but just kept having a lot of injury issues with the knee. So, he's going to be up against the clock to be in the opening round clash against the Brisbane Lions. So, yeah, really feel for the bloke. His knee swelled out quite badly. He's been battling. So, shout out to you, mate. I hope you get better. And also, Ed Richards, Sam Darcy, and Aaron Norton underwent shoulder reconstructions. But they should be okay and not missing out on any action. So, yeah, I mean, that's a few players there that need shoulder reconstructions. Generally, players come back pretty good after shoulder reconstructions. Some players can get multiple reconstructions and still come back okay. So it's not too much of a concern. But the 3 really good players. Ed Richards, arguably one of the best players last year throughout the midfield. Sam Darcy, the tall key forward. I was going to say he's a cool lad. So, yeah, but I mean, they need him. Sam Darcy could absolutely just rip the competition apart. There's no defender that can stop that man when he's on song. And Aaron Norton, I mean, if Sam Darcy can get going and they have Aaron Norton fully fit, he's another centre forward for them. It just frees him up. He can kick bags of goals. Arguably, they need both of those players well. And not only that, Ed Richards being in their midfield. That does cover the injuries, suspensions, who's going to play round 1, who's going to miss. So generally overall pretty good for most lists with a handful of injuries here or there. But for a pre-season, still got to learn. Also, it's still got to get through the last part of pre-season, and we're moving into contact, a lot more contact, match stimulation contact. We're also going to move into pre-season games. We're going to have also the State of Origin. So there's more potential for injuries to happen. No one wants to see injuries. That's just common sense part, but you just never know. And we'll see what happens, and I'll give you a future update of more injuries if they happen. We might do a little update just as the season starts before opening round, as they mentioned. And I'm going to move into the draft chats again after doing a bit of the war story. So we're going to finish off the draft chats. I'm going to do a few of them, and then we're going to get a guest on and keep going through more again. And as the season starts, or just before the season starts, I'm going to quickly do a fixture sort of chat. I'm going to talk about teams' fixtures and the potential for them to see how they go. So thank you, everyone. Hope you enjoyed it. Take care. Enjoy the weekend. Thank you.